This week in Georgia, Brian Kemp takes another trip overseas, this time going to South Korea. What does this mean politically? The Dutch king and queen have arrived in Georgia. They've come to see what a functioning system looks like, unlike what they have. Pretty important news here. Waffle House raises workers' pay. That's awesome. Good people down at Waffle House. We'll get into that a little bit later. And Fani Willis continues to use black churches as political places instead of places to worship God. Keep listening. All this and more on Peachtree News. All right, the first news story, the one about Brian Kemp going to South Korea. So it's pretty unusual for a governor to go to a lot of foreign nations. There's not much reason to, but as we've discussed in our first episode, it does look like Brian Kemp is setting himself up for presidential run in 2028, which means he's trying to basically create a track record of foreign policy. So for this trip specifically, he is talking to a bunch of company leadership that have big hand in the Georgia economy. So right here, LG Group is building an electric vehicle battery plant at the $7.6 billion automotive assembly complex that Hyundai is constructing near Savannah. So that's a South Korean company that is basically building a massive plant near Savannah that's going to generate a huge amount of revenue for Georgia. And so I guess he's just going over there to talk about it. He's taken 6 other trips besides these, and this is kind of interesting, but he attended the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, which I think a good few governors go to, but not all of them. You have to be somewhat more prominent to be able to do that. So it definitely looks like he's setting up a run, something to continue watching, just keep seeing how he's going to set himself up for these next few years and try to remain relevant in those 2 years that he won't be governor. Our next story, this is from U.S. News and World Report. So it says, a defiant Fani Willis appears to call out her critics in Trump case in speech at Black church. So this happened in Marietta, Georgia, which is kind of neat. We'll call this our local news story for the day, but Marietta, Georgia is pretty close to me. I've grown up in that area. So that's kind of nice. We all know who Fani Willis is. If you don't know who she is, she's a prosecutor in one of Trump's cases that's done some pretty nasty stuff, and so people are getting on to her for that. She said at this black church, speaking from the pulpit, as a woman, which is unbiblical. I know, come after me in the comments. The Bible says so. It's not, I'm not making it up. That's just what the Bible says. She says, I live the experience of a black woman who is attacked and over-sexualized. See, I'm so tired of hearing these idiots call my name as Fani in a way to attempt to humiliate me. Because, like silly schoolboys, the name remind... Yeah, that's crazy. All right, we're not gonna finish that. So, apparently Trump also made a mean joke about her name. She's very upset about this name stuff. From the way it's spelled, it's Fani Willis. That's her name. Maybe it's pronounced differently. I don't know, and I don't really care. So she yapped on about that for a while, about how mean people were, about how racist they were. Willis said about her father, a strong, educated, conscious black man gave her the name Fani Tafia. So that's good. Glad he was a conscious black man. Be odd if he was unconscious. So this is just some weird stuff, I don't like this trend of just like bringing politics into church this strongly, right? Politics and religion are innately intertwined, right? So if it somehow gets brought up in church, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I don't think you need to be going to a black church to hold your press conferences there. Then, this does not seem like a church. This seems like a political thing. Like, what's she preaching on? Where's the Bible? What's going on here? No, she's just talking about being black and how people bully her for her name, which apparently I may have gotten wrong. I don't know. It's just weird. And then this whole idea of a black church, I think, is a little silly too, to be quite honest. Why is there a black church? Like, you can't have a white church. You probably don't have a Hispanic church or an Asian church. Church is church. It doesn't matter what you look like. You should be allowed to come in. And I assume white people are allowed to probably come into most of these. But calling it a black church, it seems very uninviting towards those people, towards white people, Hispanics, Asians, whatever. I think churches should just be churches. Your race doesn't matter, and let's try to not use them as press conferences. All right, in our next story, kind of another local story, or at least very near and dear to my heart. It says, Waffle House raises worker pay after strikes and pressure from labor organizations. I've had some good times at Waffle House, and I think Waffle House is one of the most important staples in a southern community, really specifically Georgia, although I don't know if they originated there. Back in the day when people wanted to discuss great ideas, art, something like that, theology, they would go to a tavern. But as we lost the tavern, as we lost that meeting place for the community to come together, a new hero stepped out, and that hero was Waffle House. The amount of aggressive theological and political debates I've had in Waffle House is just incredible. It's something about that atmosphere. Now, this is awesome because it benefits the employees, and Waffle House has some top-tier employees. They are, they're great at combat. That's one thing I'll say. Most Waffle House employees can kill you, like, barehanded. It doesn't matter what you have. They can, but they don't, because they're awesome people, you know. I remember playing a game of Ultimate Frisbee inside a Waffle House using a waffle instead of a frisbee. These are the Lord's people, I feel like. These are down to earth, you know, good people. So it says in a video message to employees last month, Waffle House CEO Joe Rogers III, it's a dynasty. They're run by kings, apparently. He said the base pay would rise to at least $3 per hour. What? The base pay currently is not $3 per hour. The minimum wage in Georgia is $7.25. The way they get away with this is by saying tips and all that stuff. No one, you're not getting tipped that much at Waffle House. This is a complete scam for these employees. These poor fellows. I feel so awful for all the times I only tipped $2 for a chocolate milk, which in fairness was tipping 100%, but still these poor employees are getting paid nothing. He says it'll gradually raise to $5.25, meaning it would only be $2 below the minimum wage. So they'll still be, they might make enough for a medium-sized chihuahua to live on. My gosh. Pay your people, Waffle House. I don't like this whole tipping culture. It's dumb. And do you know how they're going to get all this money? It's not by cutting down on profits, obviously. Rogers said wage increases will be paid for by higher menu prices. That's one thing we don't need more of at Waffle House. I'm going to be real. The food is not very good, and you're paying a lot for it. That's typically why I only get a chocolate milk. I can't afford to eat at Waffle House, but I need the atmosphere in my life. So I just get a chocolate milk. But if that thing raises by 25 cents, I'm losing the house, I'm losing the kids, the dog. Yeah, this is unacceptable. Waffle House, get your stuff together, pay your employees better, cut down a little bit on profit. This dynasty needs to come to an end. Kind of an interesting story because I feel like this doesn't happen often, but U.S. News, again, all these articles I've been discussing have been from U.S. News this week, so you can just assume they all are. But it says, Dutch king and queen get on a red carpet welcome in Georgia and a chance to show off their dance moves. What could be less appealing than that? Not much. So the first thing, they have some pictures and they look like very Dutch people. So that's one of the first things you notice. They're very tall, very European looking. You can just, there's something in their eyes. It's very European. So they stopped by Savannah, Georgia, which is kind of nice. They got a welcome from the mayor, They got to see Brian Kemp, and this is apparently like a lot of articles are just bringing this up, but apparently they went to a marching band and they danced, which I don't really care enough to look up a video of it to see. So it's King Wilhelm Alexander and Queen Maxima. I gotta say, congrats to their parents. They named them pretty well, like just assuming they would be royalty. That was pretty impressive. So the main thing I was wondering when I read this article is why are they here and when will they leave? No, I'm just kidding. It's fine. They seem like very nice people. But why are they here? Why does it matter? And it looks like, because I thought the Netherlands was kind of we didn't have a lot to do with the Netherlands. But apparently the total trade between Georgia and the Netherlands was $2.1 billion last year, according to the Georgia Department of Economic Development, which means we need them, I guess. Apparently they're good at trading or something. And so we use that a lot. Georgia sent $1.8 billion in exports, including medical instruments and automatic data processing machines to the Netherlands in 2023. The state imported $1.2 billion in goods from the Netherlands, including aircraft parts and malt beer. So apparently they're pretty big trading partners, so nice to see them here. They also visited Atlanta and did some just kind of random stuff, just hung out, saw Martin Luther King's burial site, which I thought was kind of interesting because they, that's a very uniquely American thing, but he was a pretty prominent figure, I suppose, worldwide. I don't have a worldwide perspective, so I don't know, but maybe that makes sense if you consider him a worldwide figure, which I don't know if he is or not. All right, y'all. I think that's about all I got for you. This is going to be one of the hottest weeks in the year for Georgia, probably one of the hottest in history. It's like 98 degrees right now, which is why I'm inside recording a podcast. Plus, I got to do this. I don't know if we're going to have a fun episode this week. We'll see. I'm going to probably start posting shorts on the YouTube channel. Spotify people, there's a YouTube channel. YouTube people, there's a Spotify podcast. Both of them are by the same name, so go check those out. I personally like the Spotify experience a whole lot better than YouTube, but that's just my personal thoughts. So stay cool out there, and thank you guys for watching. Talking about it, funny talking,